This
Wall
is
to wall, as they say.
St. Patrick's Day, 2021, March 17th.
Right.
I'm here with the BE Collection interviewing the Honorable Judge Barbara Beck. So, welcome.
Glad to be here.
So, the first question I ask is, where were you born?
Columbia, Mississippi.
Huh.
That's part of the United States.
I've never been there. What kind of town was that?
Small country, farming town, some manufacturing, but mostly a lot of farming, a lot of individual businesses. People had small businesses, things like that. Just a small town. Probably when I was born, the population there was about maybe around 4,000.
And how long did you stay there?
Till between the 9th grade and the 10th grade, we moved up to a little town called Bolton, which was even smaller, but out of kind of southwest of Jackson. And
How many
that's where
siblings do you have?
my mother had 5 children.
Oh,
We lost my baby sister when she was only 18 months old. And then I had my sister, Donis, who passed away 4 years ago. My brother, Charlie, who passed away 2 years ago. And it's just me and my baby brother, George, left.
where does he live?
Right out of Monroe, Louisiana.
So how long did you stay in Mississippi before you?
I was in Mississippi until Uncle Sam sent me to Air Force Base in Lackland, Texas. So in June of 1964, I left Mississippi.
So were you an attorney before that?
No.
How did Uncle Sam know where to find you?
Well, I know where to find me. I walked into
Did
a
you apply?
recruiter's. I walked into a recruiter's office. I had about 2.5 years of college with music as my major, and ran out of money. And this was when Kennedy was in office, and he stopped all grants and aids to the South because we were not integrated, universities and colleges. And so I had to go home, and I left college and I went home and I went to work in a sewing factory. And I did that for a year.
Were you sewing?
Yep. Sewing up on pants, like men's pants. There's a little seam just inside the pocket. And I sewed that seam 8 hours a day, 6 days a week for about a year.
How old were you then?
Well, let's see. I was probably about 19, 20 maybe. 19, 20, somewhere in there.
What was your salary?
We got paid on, like pieces, like how many bundles we did. Mm-hmm. And I paid 18 cents a bundle, and a bundle was, I think, 50. I didn't get rich.
Oh. How long did it take to make a bundle?
Well, I was pretty quick. So probably 10 minutes maybe to make a bundle.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you get on these powerful, professional, commercial sewing machines, and you can move.
I don't know the first thing about that.
Well, you haven't missed anything. Trust
I
me.
can tell that, right?
After there, I left and
Can you back up just a little bit? Just perfect. Okay, good.
After that, I had moved back in with my mom and dad, who lived in Prentiss, Mississippi by that time. And I moved up to Jackson, and I enrolled in, at that time it was called Drones Business College. And I was there for about 1.5 years and came out with bookkeeping skills. Went to work for, at that time, it was the largest hardware store in the state of Mississippi. I was a full charge bookkeeper, didn't have any help or assistance, and I made $69 a week, and I worked 6 days a week. I was in high cotton.
You're a worker.
Yeah.
You have a good work ethic.
Yeah, I guess.
Sounds like it.
But I mean, that didn't give me enough money to live and to put money aside to go back to school. So one day I was walking through town. I went to lunch and I was walking back to the hardware store, and I walked by the recruiter's office, and it was Air Force and Navy recruiting in the same office. So I walked in. Well, the Navy guy was out for lunch, and Air Force guy was there.
They
Started
wanted
talking to him. Yeah. I started talking to him and told him, I wanted to finish my college and I thought the military could help me do that. And he said, absolutely. He said, if you'll join, raise your hand and you will join. He said, you'll have to go through basic training. And as soon as you finish basic training, we will send you to Georgetown University because that's where the WAF, Women in the Air Force band, is located.
Mhm.
We will put you in college. You will get paid sergeant's pay while you're there. As soon as you finish, become an officer. You'll travel all over the world with the WAF band and have a wonderful life. I raised my hand.
Did you write that in there?
No, I raised my hand. I didn't write it. So anyway, I got to Lackland Air Force Base, which is where basic training is. The 5th week that you're in training, they take you to what they call career orientation day. So you can tell them what you're going to do in that man's Air Force. And it was then that I found out there hadn't been a WAF band in over 2 years.
Really?
Wow, recruiters lie.
They're
And the only
salespeople.
thing the Air Force needed at that time was medics because we were in the middle of Vietnam and they needed medics. So the Air Force made a medic out of me, and that's what I did for 8 years, 2 months, and 29 days. Loved every minute of it.
Wow. Where did you travel to within that career?
Well, I never left the United States. I went from Lackland to my initial medical training, which was in the woods in Greenville, Mississippi at Gunther Air Force Base. From there, I went to advanced training, which was in Alabama, and then that's when I got my first opportunity to walk into a hospital as a medic.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, I got sent to March Air Force Base in California, and that's where I stayed the rest of my.
How long from the time you walked into that office to the time you started actually being in the training?
Well, basic training is 8 weeks. So
Walked into the office, you signed up. And
you mean to the
Right.
computers? I mean okay. I walked into the because I had to go take a test. Had to be tested to be sure that I could qualify. And then they sent me over to Alabama for my physical, and I got that done. And then I think I waited maybe 2 or 3 weeks before I actually shipped out. It wasn't long. It gave me plenty of time that I should have been thinking that, this sounds too good to be true. And you know what they say about that?
No, what did they say? It's
If
true.
it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right. So
But,
you trained as a medic, and then you got out of the Air Force, right?
Mhm.
And then what?
Yeah, I actually did not intend to get out of the Air Force. One of my doctors talked me into going to law school. I had never had any such dreams or thoughts or anything
Really?
else.
First
Yeah,
time.
he said, Bobby, he said, people are constantly coming in here to the clinic asking you how to do this. What about this? How can I do this? He said, you should look into something that helps you do that skill.
When would you say you came out to yourself, Celeste?
I didn't even know what it was. I knew I was
Really?
different. I knew from the time when I was a little girl, I mean, probably 4 or 5 years old, I got on my knees every night and I prayed that when I woke up the next morning, I'd be a boy. I did that every day, every day, every day. The time I was 4 or 5 years old, from the time I learned how to pray, that was my prayer. Please, Lord, my Sunday school teacher one time gave us a little necklace and it was the seed, mustard seed. And she told us that, if you wish on this mustard seed, your wish will come true. I would hold that I'd hold that necklace and I'd pray and I'd pray and I'd pray. And I don't know what happened to the mustard seed, but it didn't work.
You did become a boy.
No, I kind of, when I was a sophomore in college, I was really, I had just been through a relationship and broke up, but I just thought, I'm probably the only one. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm probably the only one in the world who is like this, because I didn't know anybody else. So I thought I must be the only one, and there's got to be something terrible wrong with me. I had my sophomore lit teacher instructor was, I'm sure she was gay. She claimed she lived with her sister. I'm sure she was gay. Her name was Mrs. Bell. She was from California, and she had transferred down to teach at the college, the junior college I was going, and had been there for years and years. And she kind of figured out something was wrong with me, because I usually made pretty good grades, and I just didn't care anymore.
That was after your relationship ended?
Yes. So she called me in and she talked to me, and I told her, I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm not normal. There's something wrong with me. I'm not normal. I like girls. She didn't even bat an eye. She said, there's somebody I want you to go see. She gave me the money to get on a bus and go down to New Orleans and see a psychologist. Actually, I think it was a psychiatrist, but back then I didn't know the difference. And he happened to be a deacon in the Baptist church down also. And we had a long talk, and I told him everything. I told him I tried and tried and tried to go. I dated boys. I did everything I could think of to do. I wore makeup. I did everything. What's wrong with me? And he says, he said, I believe that God doesn't make mistakes. And I believe that God gave you what you are, made you how you are, and gave you a mission in life and a purpose in life. And you need to find that purpose in life, and don't worry about anything else, because God made you and God doesn't make mistakes. And I mean, that changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. It did.
Crazy now, one intervention like that can change your life.
And they could have gone the other way. He was a deacon in the Baptist church, for God's sakes. And yet right. he was, I don't know, conscious enough of the realities of life that he said, this is how it is.
Mm-hmm. Made room for you.
Yeah.
To hear you. Right.
Yeah, it did. Okay. I mean, it changed my life. It made all the difference in the world. I don't know what would have happened.
Mm-hmm. That's the time when people get suicidal.
Absolutely. I didn't care if I lived, because what am I going to live for? I'll never have happiness. I mean, what am I going to live for?
So if some young woman or old woman, any woman came to you today and gave you some of that same information, what would you tell them?
You mean came and told me the same thing that I told him? I'd probably tell him the same thing. I'd probably say, this is my belief. You may not believe the same way. This is my belief. I don't believe God makes mistakes. That's not to say that God doesn't give us burdens, doesn't give us a cross to bear, doesn't give us things that we have to deal with that sometimes certainly don't seem fair, and we can't figure out, why are you doing this to me, God? But I don't believe God makes mistakes. God put this in your heart, that this is who you are, and there's a reason for it. That's how
advice comes from your heart.
Yeah.
And your experience.
That's right, my experience. I mean, I have, my family all still lives in the South. I have a nephew who is pastor in the Baptist church. And everybody in my family, has been pretty religious, pretty involved. But there's not one, not even my nephew who's the minister, who doesn't love me, respect me, want to be around me. And that's God at work. It could have been the other way.
Also you.
Well, yeah, he's at work in my life.
But you're giving them too.
Well, that's true.
So tell me about law school. How was that?
Well, I had to go to a night law school because I was still in service and working every day all day long. So I went 4 years, 12 months out of the year to law school. Took the bar. I had finished 2 years before I got out of service, and then I finished the next 2 years after I got out. took the bar, passed it. Walking through court one day, and I heard this guy yell at me, "Hey, Beck, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just down here waiting to, just walking in the courtrooms, listening to, trying to get some experience." He says, "Well, how would you like real experience?" And I said, "Yeah, what?" He was one of my professors. He taught constitutional law. And he said, "We have an opening in the public defender's office." I had applied in the DA's office. I had applied in all kinds of federal jobs and federal offices and everything. And I hadn't really thought about being a public defender. I knew my daddy would probably have a fit if he knew I was, but I went with him upstairs, and he happened to be the assistant public defender, and he took me in and introduced me to the public defender and said she was one of my students. I'd like you to talk to her and think she'd in. So 30 minutes later, he offered me the job.
Great.
And I worked in the public defender's office in Riverside for about 7 years, and then transferred up county.
You went from Riverside to
Santa Barbara County. Yeah,
Santa Barbara County.
Yeah. And everybody in the public defender's office knew that Lucy and I were together and that we were a couple. We considered ourselves a committed couple. And when I got to Santa Barbara, they all knew it. Everybody in town knew it.
So where did you meet Lucy?
Well, we kind of got together in '69, and we called 1970 the Valentine's Day of 1970 as that's when, because we kind of had a little issue because the one that had moved away decided to come back, and I had to, tell her it was over and send her back. And when she came, Lucy moved out. So when she moved back in and we got back together was Valentine's Day, 1970. So we claimed it and been together ever since. 51 years.
That was all beach.
That just means I'm older.
No, you made decisions sooner.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So now you're on the Central Coast, to Santa Barbara County.
Glenn Maurer was the public defender of Santa Barbara County at the time. And he had called me in Riverside a couple of times and asked me to come and apply because several of the guys that worked in the public defender's office in Riverside had gotten disenchanted with our new public defender, who cared more about satisfying the board of supervisors than he did about taking care of our clients. So they had kind of gotten disillusioned, and they had left the office, and several of them had gone up to Santa Barbara to work in the public defender's office there. And they had told him he was looking to hire women. So they had told him, that I might be willing to come. He had a reputation. He was not good with women. He didn't think women ought to even be in the law, pretty much. He had that reputation. So, yeah. So I just told him.
What year was that?
That would have been he first started calling me in '78. And I finally transferred in April of '79. But I told him, I said, I can't work around you. I'll work for you as the public defender, but I can't work around you. You and I would probably tie up and fight real quick. So and he was shocked. He said, I have that reputation. I said, yeah, you do. So I told him I'd come, but I would only go to Santa Maria and work. So that's what I did.
Hmm.
Everybody was, who would not want to come to Santa Barbara? Me. I like the small. I did.
Then how did you move from being an attorney to becoming a judge?
Well, you remember Joni Gray? We got to be friends, and she kept telling me that I needed to apply for a judge. And I said, I'm a public defender. You understand that? I'm gay. I'm a public defender. You understand that? I'm a woman. You understand that? And she said, I don't care. I had joined through her. I had joined the Santa Maria Republican Women's Club and went to all the meetings and everything. And She said, it won't make any difference. She said, you've got the support of every woman, Republican woman in this town. It won't make a difference. Okay, so I put my name in,
Huh?
and Centeno was the sheriff, was the police chief at the time, and he just thought it was disgraceful. That was his attitude at the time.
Did he
So
tell you that?
He contacted, no, some of his staff told me that. So he contacted the governor's office and said, do you know she's gay?
Really?
Well, the governor's
Okay.
office, and Marvin Baxter at the time was the appointment secretary for the governor, Duke Mason. So Baxter calls Joni Gray, and Joni Gray says, who the hell cares? And she gave him the name of 4 or 5 other people, Republicans, prominent Republicans there in town. And he called all of them. He said, yeah, we know. Who cares? So I got the appointment. They found out nobody cared.
Right.
They said
They weren't going to talk about it if they did.
that's right. And he contacted Judge Llewellyn. Judge Llewellyn says, I don't care who she goes to bed with. She's the best damn lawyer in town. So
Oh, okay.
that, well, yeah, that was the end of that.
Very good.
That's how I became a judge. Never in 10 million years would I.
What would you say was your most rewarding career experience?
Well, it's hard to pick one because I thoroughly enjoyed being in the military. I enjoyed working with, I enjoyed everything that I did in the military.
You pick more than
I enjoyed being in surgery. I enjoyed everything. Enjoyed all of it.
How many women are on the bench now?
Oh God, many. Thank goodness.
Really?
Many. Yeah, and appointed by Republican and Democrat. Just many.
So would you advise a young woman to enter the military as a good stepping stone to career?
If you need it, especially if you need it for your education. I mean, if you don't intend to make it a career, but you need to go in to get, to get the background experience and then get the benefits. And I mean, when Lucy and I went to college, our GI Bill was like $225, maybe $225 a month. So obviously it didn't pay for our education, but it helped. But it helped. We both had to take out a bunch of loans, but it helped. Today, if you serve today under the GI Bill today, I mean it's $20,000 or $30,000 a year for your education. 4 years.
So that's great.
Well,
For someone who's looking for financial assistance.
And if there's somebody who wants to go in, like especially the medical field, they will actually put you through college and medical school. Then you have to give them year for year. So most people don't do it for their college, but they do it for medical. But some do it for everything. They do for the whole 4 years of college and then the 4 years of medical school. So you give them, then you have to give them year for year. So you have to give them back 8 years, but you go in as a captain. Quickly, you're elevated to a major, and before long, you're a lieutenant colonel or colonel. By the time you get out, you've got your 8 years, and you're probably at least a colonel.
What would you like to be remembered for after you're dead?
Well, I think that
Okay.
I found out who I was, and I think that I found out what my purpose was in life, and I think I did everything I could to fulfill that purpose. Do not be afraid of change. Do not be afraid to find what makes you want to get up every day and go. Makes you. Okay. That's going to give you a good.
I like that. We thank you. And I thank you for this experience.
Well, you're welcome. I enjoyed it.